You don't go out there to work on anything, you go out there to stop. And nobody in the house fully understands that. But you do. The door closes behind you, and something in your chest changes immediately. Not relief exactly, something quieter than that. You pull the chain on the overhead light. You look at the workbench. Maybe you run a hand along it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just stand there for a second before you sit down. There is no project tonight. There is no plan. You are not fixing anything. You are not building anything. You came out here with nothing in your hands, and that was intentional, even if you could not have said so out loud. You sit, the chair or the stool or the tailgate or the cooler in the corner. You find your spot, you settle in, and then you do nothing. Not nothing in the way people mean when they say they are relaxing. Not a show you're half watching. Not a phone you're scrolling. Not a beer you're nursing with one eye on a game. Nothing. You sit in a room full of things you know how to use, and you use none of them. You stare at the wall or the floor or the half-dark corner near the door. The radio might be on, low enough that it is more texture than sound. You are not really listening to it. Your wife came to the door at some point, or she didn't. Either way, you are aware of the door. She asked if you were okay. You said yeah. She asked when you were coming in. You said in a minute. That was longer ago than you thought. You have not moved. The coffee you brought out here has gone cold, and you didn't notice until just now, and it doesn't bother you the way it probably should. This is not new. You have been doing this for years. It started before you had a garage. You found other places, the back steps, the parking lot after a long shift, the car you sat in for 10 minutes before walking into the house. You needed a buffer between the world and the place where you lived, between everything that required something from you and the few hours before you had to do it again. The garage just became the permanent version of that. Other men in your life do the same thing. You probably know a few. The man down the street who is always out in his driveway on weekend evenings, doing what looks like nothing. Your father, maybe, if you think back. The way he had his spot. The chair in the corner of the shop. The steps off the back door. The place where he went to be somewhere between the day and the night. You recognized it in him before you had words for it. Now you have the spot of your own, and you still don't have words for it. But you don't need them. You know what it is. It is the one place where nothing is required of you, where you're not a husband or a father or an employee or a neighbor. You are a man sitting in a quiet room, and that is the whole of it. Nobody needs anything from you in here. That matters more than you usually let yourself admit. The week leaves marks, not the kind anyone can see, not the kind you talk about. The conversation with your boss that went sideways, and you held your face still through the whole thing. The phone call from your mother that went 20 minutes longer than you had, and you stayed on it anyway. The moment your kid looked at you with an expression you could not read, and you stored it away to examine later, and later never came. None of that got processed. It got carried. You carried it through the rest of the day. You carried it through dinner. You carried it through whatever passed for an evening. And now you're in the garage, and the carrying has a place to stop. You don't talk about the week. You don't rehash it. You don't call someone and work through it out loud. You sit in a room that smells like motor oil and sawdust and old steel, and something in you starts to loosen without you doing anything at all. You have never once been asked to explain this and done it well. Someone asks why you go out there and you say you're just unwinding, or you need some air, or you're thinking about a project. None of those are wrong exactly. None of them are the whole truth either. The whole truth is harder to say. Harder to say because it doesn't have clean edges. You go out there because it's the only place that doesn't want anything from you. Because the silence in the garage is a different quality of silence than the silence inside the house. Inside the house, the silence has weight. It is charged with everything unsaid, and everything needed, and everything that will need to be addressed tomorrow. In the garage, the silence is just silence. It has no agenda. And you need that more than you have ever found a way to say. You are not withdrawing. You are not checked out. You are not struggling in a way that requires someone to worry. You are a man who carries a significant amount quietly and who has learned, without being taught, that there is one place where the caring stops. That is not avoidance, but nobody has ever given you a cleaner word for it. Here's what is actually happening when you sit there. Your brain has been in operational mode all week, solving, anticipating, managing, holding. That mode is expensive. It consumes real resources, attention, energy, cognitive load, and none of that recycles itself while you are still in the middle of it. You can sleep and still wake up carrying it. You have done that. You went to bed with the week still on you, and you woke up with it in the same place. Sleep is not the release valve. The garage is. When you sit in that chair with no task and no screen and no obligation, your brain shifts into something it cannot shift into while you're still inside the demands of the day. It begins to consolidate, to sort, to settle. What looked like nothing is actually the condition your nervous system requires to do maintenance on itself. The week's accumulation has to go somewhere. It is going somewhere. It is going through you quietly in the dark while the radio plays something you are not listening to. This is why you come back inside different. Not fixed, not better exactly, quieter. Lighter in a way that is hard to measure, but that the people in your house can usually detect even if they don't name it. Your wife knows the difference between the man who comes in from the garage and the man who never went out. You know the difference too. You just don't talk about it in those terms. There is something else happening in there as well. Men who have spent years performing competence, carrying responsibility, managing the visible and the invisible demands of a life, tend to lose something in the process. Not their ability to feel, the ability to locate what they are feeling and root it somewhere useful. The pathway between what lands on you and what you can say about it gets narrow over time. Not broken, narrow. And the garage is not a place where that pathway reopens through conversation or processing or working it out. The garage is a place where it doesn't need to, where the processing happens below the level of language, where something moves through you in a register that doesn't require words. That is not a deficiency. That is a different architecture. Men who need language to process are not better at carrying the weight of a life. They are just noisier about it. You are not noisier about it. You are quieter. And the garage is where quiet does the work that noise does for other people. The tools on the wall matter too, even when you are not using them. You are sitting in a space your hands have made functional, a space where your effort has translated directly into outcome, where problems have solutions you can reach for with your actual hands. That environment tells your nervous system something the couch does not. It says, you are capable. You have handled things in this room. You will handle things in this room again. For now, you can stop because you have already proven you can go. That is not a small thing to have around you when you are tired. Men who sit in their garage doing nothing are not checked out. They are doing the one thing that keeps them functional for everything else. The maintenance is invisible. That is why nobody sees it as maintenance. It looks like withdrawal. It looks like isolation. To someone who does not understand the architecture of how you carry your life, it looks like a man disappearing. It is not disappearing. It is the opposite of disappearing. You go out there so you can come back. So that the man who comes in through the door at the end of the evening is someone the people inside the house can reach. So that the weight you carried through the week does not harden into something that separates you from your own life. You have always known this. You knew it before you had a garage. You knew it before you could have explained it. You found the version of that place that existed in every house you lived in before this one. The back steps, the car, the corner of a room that was nominally yours. The garage is just the most honest version of it. Men who need that are not men who have given up on connection. They are men who understand that they come back to connection better when they have had time to set the load down first. They are not men who do not feel things. They are men who feel things in a way that does not require an audience. They are not struggling. They have developed, without coaching or instruction, one of the more honest forms of self-regulation available to them. Nobody handed you the garage as a coping tool. You found your way to it because Something in you already understood what it provided before you had the language for what that was. There will come a day when you cannot go out there. Maybe the garage is gone. Maybe the life looks different. Maybe the reasons you cannot sit there in the particular way you sit there now have already started to accumulate. Men who know this tend to use the time differently, not more productively, more deliberately. They sit a little longer. They let the quiet be a little quieter. They do not rush back in, not because they are avoiding anything, because they understand that what happens in the garage is not nothing. It never was. It is the place where the weak gets set down, where the carrying stops, where the man who lives behind all the competence and the responsibility and the managing of everything gets a few minutes to just be a man sitting in a room. That man needs that room. He always has. You've always known that. You just never needed anyone to tell you.